This is Giving Purpose Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Giving Purpose Podcast, where we highlight San Francisco Bay Area nonprofits and the work they do to better our communities. This is your host, Ana Pimentel-Calero, with co-host Joe Neto, and we are very excited to have you listening in and would like to introduce you to our guest. So our guest is Erin Salazar, the Executive Director and founder of Local Color. Salazar has led many public art and advocacy projects, including murals totaling 30,000 square feet of vertical space and opened a 20,000 square foot creative haven called Local Color in downtown San Jose. So Erin, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what Local Color does?
Sure can. Hello, I'm Erin Salazar. I serve as Local Color's Executive Director. It's an organization that I founded back in 2015, and I've had the total honor of serving as her executive director for the last 9 years, which is crazy to me because I started out as an artist and a bartender, and it's just kind of wild to look back on it and think about how much we've done since then.
Can you go a little bit more into detail just about the mission of Local Color?
I sure can. So we recently went through a strategic planning process, and initially I was like, oh God, I don't need a strategic plan. I don't need funding for a strategic plan. I need unrestricted operating capital. That's what I need. I need money to do whatever I want to do. But we applied for this grant. We didn't get it. They gave us this consolation grant, or I thought of it at the time as a consolation grant. And I was like, fine, I guess we'll do a strategic plan, whatever that is. So I really dragged my feet about it. And the funding was to hire a consultant to help us build out what would become the future, well, sort of today, of Local Color. And one of the first things that he did was this consultant did stakeholder interviews. So he interviewed artists we work with and board members and past board members and staff and past staff. And the first thing he says to me when we get back after these stakeholder interviews, he goes, Erin, I hate to tell you this, you're not an arts nonprofit. And I was like, oh no, we hired the wrong consultant if he doesn't think we're an arts nonprofit. But then he was like, you're an artists nonprofit. And my head exploded. I started sobbing. It was a whole thing, because really that's what it's about for me and for us. The art happens, the art will happen, but it's a result of a well cared for community. And so just to hear that flip of we're not an arts organization, we're an artists organization, was mind blowing for me. So then we started to build our new mission, vision, values. And so our mission as it stands right now is that our mission is to build equitable pathways for creatives to thrive. The cool thing about Local Color is that it has a dual meaning, right? The first one, as you said, is the idiosyncrasies and the manner of dress and the customs. So you go to Seattle or something like that, and you go out and you get a little taste of the local color. You get the coffee, you get the tattoo, you get you go get some local color. But the other definition there is, as I first learned it in art, it is the color of a thing, very specific, the color of a thing unaffected by the colors around it. So when I think about Local Color, it's the macro, right? It's the idiosyncrasies and the manner of dress. It's how the community presents itself, but it's also the micro. And so it's the thing unaffected by the colors around it. And I love that it just has this depth and breadth to it that is just it's a dynamic term that I love so much. And so when I think about how local artists from different areas and diverse backgrounds play into the mission, I think back to our vision. And so we envision cities where all artists, and specifically artists and communities of color, see themselves, hear themselves, and feel themselves reflected back into their community as honored pillars of the cultural landscape. So that's what we imagine brilliant cities to be. And I think that one thing San Jose has is such an eclectic and diverse community. We say it all the time. We hear it all the time. Local Color has four projects or four main programs that we do. The first one I talked a little bit about was about our public art program, where we are building economic opportunities for artists. We make sure that every artist gets paid for the work that they do that beautifies the community. But then in 2016, I was getting picked up for a lot of fellowships. It's like once they know that you're like interested in being a leader, these fellowship people, they can smell you like a mile away. And they're like, we're going to get her in our fellowship and we're going to make her a better person. And I resisted that for a long time, but now I'm a better person having done it. And in one of these fellowships, they were teaching me to define my community through its assets and not its deficits. And I was like, whoa, that's what I'm doing with the murals already. If I got enough energy to be pissed off about a blank wall, I've got enough energy to do something about it. And I had a lot of energy to be mad about vacant spaces that were blighting and polluting our city. And if I have the energy to be angry about it, I got the energy to do something about it. So in 2016, I started the Artist in Residence program where we opened up a 20,000 square foot space, which was a Ross Dress for Less. And we turned it into affordable studio spaces and a community center. And we rocked on that space for a long time. We closed that facility in 2020, but to date, we have opened 69,000 square feet of affordable studio spaces. 23,000 is still open today. We receive these spaces as an in-kind donation from developers, and we do a little bit of work to transform them into affordable art studios. And so to date, we've had something like $3.3 million of in-kind donation from developers to be able to open and operate these spaces. We've served over 250 artists through our affordable studio spaces. And so the Artist in Residence program, really, we're working with developers to reactivate buildings that are slated for demolition as creative spaces for artists. We have murals all through Santa Clara County now. We started just based in San Jose, and we've sort of expanded out because there's such a need for relatable and relevant public art throughout the entire county. So now it's sort of growing bigger and bigger and bigger every year. We do have a couple of awesome murals inside of the SAP Center, and we've worked closely with the San Jose Sharks. Local Color now, we curate the Cultural Heritage Nights, the portfolios for the Cultural Heritage Nights for the San Jose Sharks. So for like Women of Teal and Lunar New Year and Black History Month, we give them the portfolios for them to look at, and then they work with the artists to create the marks and things like that. So that's a really cool thing that we do with the Sharks. As a founder, it's sort of hard for me to separate out my personal reasons for starting this organization and it's hard for me to pull those two things apart. So they're intrinsically connected. And back in 2011, I have parents. Well, I have parents. And in 2011, my dad was 55 when he passed away. And then the following year, my mom, who was also 55, passed away in 2012. And so then I became the oldest person in my family, and I'm 24 years old. I have nothing. I'm bummed out. I have nothing left to be scared of. I have nobody to disappoint, nobody to impress, nothing. It was such a bummer time in my life that I was just like, I had to put that energy towards something else. And so I was thinking, man, if it's genetic, right? And if I'm going to die when I'm 55, I no longer feel that way. If that's the case for me, then I should do something more impactful, and I can be more impactful working for other people than I can be working for myself. And so that's why I really started the nonprofit organization, is because I had all this angst and grief, and I just needed to pour it into something good. I think about volunteers a lot, and they are important to how nonprofits can grow. And I think about volunteer efforts when it comes to painting temporary murals or community murals or anything like that. We're going to have a number of awesome volunteer painting days coming up in the next couple of months, which should be really rad and exciting. So I encourage everybody to sign up for our newsletter on localcolorsj.org. Stay tuned to our Instagram, which is localcolorsj, and that's where we put the call out for volunteers. And your corporate team group can volunteer in groups of 10 plus. We've got some big boys coming up. So that's one way that people can volunteer. Also, we're shopping around for board members right now too. And we have a volunteer board, and they help us with our governance, our fundraising, and our advocacy. So we are looking for more board volunteers to join our wonderful, awesome, and eclectic volunteer. And then I'm thinking of other ways. Oh, those are two big ones. Yeah, committees, volunteers, committees, volunteer painting, board membership. Those are three good ways to volunteer with us. Definitely follow along for more in-depth details, but one of our favorite events and one of our fiscally sponsored project is called San Jose Day, led by executive producer Haley Cardamom, who was the third person I ever hired, and now she's off and running her own awesome thing. And so on April 8th, we call it San Jose Day. That falls on like a Wednesday this week or this year. So it's actually 4/06. There's a big festival happening in Japantown in San Jose. And so it will be like just a real big culture fun day of celebrating in hopefully the sun, and come out and see the Local Color booth. We're going to be pressing some custom buttons for everyone.
Want to give out your contact information again, your website, and how to follow you on social media?
Yeah, on the Instagrams, we are Local Color SJ. On the internet, the World Wide Web, we are www.localcolorsj.org. And you can reach me and all my teams by emailing us at hello@localcolorsj.org. Stay in touch.
Beautiful. And thank you again, Erin, for being our guest today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Giving Purpose Podcast. For more information, you could visit our website at givingpurposepodcast.com.